Welcome, everybody. It's good to see those of you who I can see and to be able to listen to those of you who I can't see. Um, I'm so glad we can at least come together in this forum. It's not exactly what we would all like because we like to be touchy feely and see each other and talk one on one to each other. And we can't do that, but this is the next best thing. Before we get started, I want you all to mute yourself, and that's touch your little microphone so that the red line will go through it, so that when our presenter is doing her program, there won't be any extra static out there, phones ringing, dogs barking, or whatever, so we can all hear her as she brings the program to us. And Linda Yarborough will do our introduction this morning of our guest speaker. Linda?
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you, and I am very pleased to introduce to you Altise Street. She's going to inform us about all the programs and services and information provided by 211 Virginia. I'm sure that's going to be helpful information. Altise is a native of Chesterfield. She studied business at VCU and obtained a master's degree from the University of Phoenix. She's passionate about helping in the community. She left the corporate world to begin working with United Way of Greater Richmond and Petersburg in 2003. In her free time, she loves to travel with her son. She's grateful for a fantastic family and friends and makes sure she stays in her community, helping wherever she can. Altise?
Thank you, Miss Linda. You know, it's always weird to hear someone read something about you, even though you wrote it. So let me work on getting my presentation up. And while I am doing that, so you guys have heard the brief bio of me, but I have been working with 211 for about 15 years. Yeah, I know. Every time I think about it, it's been a while too. And that honestly is how many years that 211 has been in Virginia. So we will celebrate our 15th birthday next month on February the 11th. So that is kind of exciting to me. I've seen it from infancy to what we have today. So today I am going to talk to you about a program called 211 Virginia. We are a statewide program, and we'll go into more of that. I have done this presentation several different times, and it's always weird to do it virtually because I am a talker and a interactor. So I always try to get people interactive in the presentation. So it's kind of weird to just see one person. So if you have any questions through this presentation, feel free to ask your question. My thing is, I would like for you to get something from this presentation. So whether you voluntarily are attending or involuntarily attending, I feel you will learn something from this presentation, no matter what it comes to. So usually when I do this presentation, I always start it off with the N11s. So 211 is a part of the N11 family. And for people who are like, oh, I have no idea what the N11s are, you actually do. You just don't know you know what they are. So on your screen now are a list on your left-hand side are all the N11 numbers. So you see you actually do know these numbers. So it's 211 through 911, and unofficially they just added, I think it's 988, which is the National Suicide Hotline number. But all of these numbers, and if you're looking at it, they're not matched up to the one that it's supposed to be matched up to. In my previous presentations, we did this as an activity, but we all know that 911 is the, oh, wrong pointer, pin, is the emergency number. 811, if you are not familiar with it, is Miss Utility. You've probably heard the commercial, call before you dig. 711 is the relay line. That's for the deaf and hard of hearing. 611 is cell phone repair. So if you have a cell phone, you dial 611, you should get the operator for your cell phone service. You have 511, which is the traffic and transportation. So for those of us, we were talking about it earlier, that we travel across the state, we can use 511. So if you were going to DC or to Tidewater, you can call them and they can tell you what the traffic looks like on the roads that you're going to have to take before you get there. 411, we all know that one, which is your local directory. Side note, if you're one of those people who dial 411 and do not like the charges, you can actually dial 1-800-FREE, F-R-E-E, 411, does the same thing except for you're not going to pay for it. You also have 311, which is your non-emergency number. Chesterfield does not have a 311, but for like City of Richmond or Virginia Beach, they have a 311 operator. And then you have us at 211. So, what does all this have to do with 211? Well, we're a part of this family of community service lines. And all of us have a specific talent that we do. And so 211, our talent is connecting people to community resources. And so 211 is a free 3-digit number that you can use across the United States and Canada. So let's just basically say across North America. So everything I go over today is primarily for Virginia. However, at its base, all 211s do the same thing. We all are there to serve our community and connect our residents with community resources. We're all staffed by call center operators. Majority of us are 24/7, 365, and majority of us are trained to take whatever call comes next. So a lot of people compare us to a 911 operator because we don't know what our next call is going to be. Our calls range anywhere from, hey, can I get the number to social services, to I'm going to commit suicide, and we don't know what we're going to get. So we're there and we're trained to de-escalate someone and get them over to the proper person to help them, and to just give someone a telephone number like we're directory assistants. So like you see on the slides, it is across the whole Commonwealth of Virginia. So there is just one number. You dial the 211 number, you get the next available specialist in our call center family. There are 26 call center specialists. I will tell you, at any given time, we can ramp up. As of right now, we are ramped up because we are in a state of emergency. As you'll see later on in the slides, we are the emergency line for the Commonwealth of Virginia, or one of the emergency lines in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we are ramped up right now to 30 plus call specialists. And then you have outreach team, which is what I'm a part of, that will also get on the phones to assist when needed. I actually started off as a call center operator. Being here for 15 years, I have held quite a many different positions throughout 211. I used to tell people that I was a trainer and my job was to make our call center specialists cry. And if I could make you cry, then we might need to rethink if a call center specialist is the job for you. And why I say that is because just like we get any range of calls, we get any range of people. And we can get someone who is having a great day. We can have someone that's having a bad day and takes it out on you. And my thing was, I don't really want you crying on the phone with the clients. If they're already having a bad day, we need to be the person that's going to calm them down and get them to the proper person to assist them. All right. So we are a comprehensive database. So we have over 6,000 different programs in, 6,000 different agencies in our database with close to 12,000 different programs. And that's anything from your basic human needs, your food, shelter, clothing, like your social determinants, all the way up to we have volunteer activities, and we have the sheriff's department and different programs like that that people may not necessarily think about. We have consumer service information and where to go if you have your identity stolen. But things people don't necessarily think about, but in the end, we realize that they're going to need. Alrighty. Okay. So to give you an idea of our impact in fiscal year 2019, so this was from July of 2019 to the end of June of 2020, we took over 100,000 calls. So this was partway through the pandemic. And this is around our normal because we were just beginning with the pandemic stuff, and this was before the moratorium started to end for the rent mortgage. So anyone across Virginia can reach 211 by telephone, but we also have email, chat. We have 2 sites that will take walk-ins. Unfortunately, that is not in the Chesterfield, Richmond area. And then we also do snail mail. I call it snail mail. Other people call it the Postal Service, but potato. But we do that, and that's mostly our letters to correctional facilities, because we are in the correctional facilities working with the men and women who are going to return home to connect them to resources. A lot of them will go through what's called a home plan, and so we're a part of that home plan. So whatever it is they want to do post-incarceration, whether they want to go back to school, start a business, if they just want to come home and find a job, then we're there to help them with those programs in the community to help support them on that journey. And then we do have a website, and which actually just got a redo, and it was relaunched this morning. And so our website is 211virginia.org. And I just realized I misspelled it. .org. And so when you visit it, once again, when we have something new, I always tell people, see if you can break it. But our website got redone to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So a lot of the options and referrals are right there on the home screen, and you can click a button and it will take you through the process of looking up resources. Any questions so far? Okie dokie. All right, so to broaden or get more in depth with the data that we were, the numbers that I was telling you before, this is kind of a breakdown of the calls. So anybody dealing in health and human services can tell you utility and housing assistance is going to be your highest. Being that we were going through a pandemic at the same time, I think it's normal that healthcare would be the next one, because our health departments are under healthcare for us. Food and individual and family support, social services listed under there. So it kind of plays right around with the pandemic and what everybody was going through as we went through the pandemic. In a traditional normal year, but what is a normal year? Utility and housing really are always our top request. Usually it's then followed by food as a third, and healthcare maybe rounding out as fourth. So during the pandemic, they kind of moved around a little bit more with where they were landing along with the requests. Now, if you are an agency and this is something you are really super interested in, we also have a website called 211 Counts, and that's COUNTS.org. This is a data dashboard that we are participating in with a lot of the other 211s across the nation. When you visit it, you would just have to click on Virginia, and it would take you to our data. And the data is updated as of midnight. And it will show you the numbers of requests for referrals. So if someone called and just asked for the number to social services, that number wouldn't be counted in the data that you're seeing. But if they ask for, I think, I would need to sign up for food stamps, and we're taking them through the whole process and we're referring them to Common Help, then that call would be shown on that screen. All right, so these are some of the projects that we are a part of. And like I said before, does someone have a question? Okay. we are a part of a lot of different things. Most people will remember us from when we first started and we were kind of individual separate call centers. Now we are one call center, one database, one team for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I forgot to say in the beginning, we are a part of the Virginia Department of Social Services. They are our funding source. All of us that work with them are subcontracted. So there are 5 different sites across the state. There is the United Way of Greater Richmond and Petersburg, which is the office that I work out of. There is the Planning Council, which is in the Tidewater area. It's the United Way of Central Virginia, which is in the Lynchburg area. And then there is the Council of Community Services, which is in Roanoke. And so those 5 organizations make up the 211 team. And so from there, we have these different projects that we are assigned. And this is what makes us different from some of the other 211s that are across the nation. Whereas we are a part of these projects, they may do different projects with their Department of Social Services or with their local United Ways. So as you see on the screen, we do work with VDOM, which is your Virginia Department of Social Services. In the past, we've done Hurricane Doreen. Right now, we're working with apart with them with the COVID, and we worked with them through the inauguration and lobby day, and there was a bus accident a couple years ago in Prince George that we were a part of working with them. We do what's called the Family Reunification Line, and basically that means if there is a mass casualty event, we will be activated by the Hospital Association to track where everyone goes, which hospitals they go to, and a family member will be given one number, which will roll into our call center. And then what we would do is help them figure out where their family member ended up, which hospital they were in, and then we would get them to that hospital. And why is this important? So if you were trying to figure out what hospital your family member went into and they were in a different state and you weren't familiar with it and there were 20 hospitals, you would have to call all 20 hospitals to figure out where they are. This way, they only have one number and one person to talk to. They're not calling 20 different people to track down their family member. So it saves from the confusion and, people going into hysteria because they can't find who they're looking for. So we also are working with the health department, with the health information line during COVID, trying to disseminate a lot of the information that's coming out. A lot of their public release. Right now, we're working with where people can sign up or how the vaccination is going out. And if people have questions about the vaccination, what numbers they can call to get that actual correct information. So no one is going off of what someone's cousin's brother, sister said. You're getting the information directly from someone who knows what's going on. We work with Dominion. And the Dominion project is with their Energy Share Fund, and that mainly is to make sure people, if they need assistance with getting their utility bills paid, that they're getting connected to the 61 sites they have across the Commonwealth, well, across their Dominion footprint. We do infant and toddler, and for those who don't know what that is, that's from 0 to 3. If you think a child has some type of delay, they're not talking, walking, or whatever else, in an appropriate time frame that you think they should be, it's a way to connect them to services, to get them prepared before they enter the school system. We're the after hours number for the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. We just started the program for Kinship Navigator. We also work with No Wrong Door. We just became their call center. And we work with the infant and toddler contract or project is a part of DARS. And so this is just a couple more of the projects that we are under. We are under we're under the umbrella of what is called AIRS, which is the Alliance for Information and Referral Systems. And that is our big brother for our certification. So the call centers the call center specialists, our database system, the outreach people, pretty much from top to bottom, we're all certified to do our job through a national certification program. Our part of our program is we have to do trainings, we have to attend different classes and things like that to make sure that we know what we're doing. We can de-escalate people. We are providing empathy and support and things like that to help and not hurt or hinder people that call into 211 for assistance, because we don't want to become a barrier to anyone getting services along the way. So I think, yep. And then that is me and my contact information. And so for anyone who is actually not seeing the slides, I have up my email address. And for anyone who needs it, it's my last name, which is Street, just like you drive on, STREET. And then it's my first initial A at yourunitedway.org. I am also, once again, those many, many hats that we wear. I am their United Way's Community Engagement Manager, because a part of my job is to cover all 11 localities that United Way covers, along with an additional 10 that I cover for the 211 program. So I take that back. 11 that United Way covers and 16 additional that 211 has provided me. So I cover 27 localities across Virginia in my coverage area footprint. So that is an introduction to 211.
Well, thank you, Altise. Appreciate it. Anybody got questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. This is Linda. Altise, you mentioned a website address, the 211virginia.org. Does that mean Virginia is spelled out completely?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
it is totally spelled out. And that will take you to our new updated website. Now, I will say, if you are working with someone that maybe is leaving Virginia, then you can go to 211.org, and that will be our national website. And so you can put in, the locality that they're going to, or if you know the zip code they're going to, and it will pull up the 211 center that covers the area they're moving to. And then you can call that 211 center or have them connect with that center once they get there to look for resources if that's what they need.
And my other question is, the origin of most of the resources you would provide to someone who calls. And by that, I mean, we get calls from many seniors or family members of seniors in our office requesting resource information, and we supply it as completely and accurately as we can to point them to the best places for what their need may be. Your list of resources, would it include those same ones that we would probably be suggesting, and or would it be perhaps numerous other resources as well?
So I would say it could be both. So it could be the exact same list that you have, but it could be some additional ones. All the agencies that are in our database have put themselves in our database. So they have gone through the process of entering their information in our database, and they do an annual update to tell us what they want us to tell the public. Everything we do is voluntary. And so, not saying you're doing this, but I have seen other people do this. They'll just Google something and give it to someone, but they're not sure if the person is open or things like that. So the list we have is everything that people are telling us to tell. So we update with agencies on a monthly basis. So I hope I answered your question. But it does have some Chesterfield County agencies on it. So we do refer to Chesterfield County agencies, but in addition to that list, it could be nonprofits that have requested to be added, whether they are known or smaller. It could also be surrounding counties that also service Chesterfield. So it depends on how you come up with your list. If you just stay in Chesterfield, then our list could be a little bit bigger, because we would be looking at what's in Richmond that also serves Chesterfield when we're trying to walk them through services.
Okay. One question that we often get regards housing and affordable housing in particular. And occasionally it will be someone who says, I need to find an alternative apartment or some sort of housing within the week or within 2 days. And obviously that's very challenging.
Yes.
Do you have resources that can address the emergency situation such as that?
So usually in that case, we give them whatever resources we have. So we're the Virginia Housing, and I always say it wrong. I want to say it's Virginia Housing Authority, but I think that's wrong. They have a call center for housing, and so that will be an automatic referral. But we also would give them the housing resource line, because a 2-day turnaround to get in any apartment is probably really far-fetched, especially you have to go through a background check and everything else. So we try to give them what they're looking for, but we also try to live in reality. You're not going to be able to acquire like a brand new apartment in 2 days, do the background check, the deposit, all of that stuff in a 2-day turnaround. That's not very realistic unless you have a private owner. So we try to give them that resource, but a backup plan just in case, if they're interested in, possibly the shelter route or things like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Brenda Jenkins?
I do. Hi, Altise, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
My question relates to, I noticed you had resources for veterans.
Yes, ma'am.
And quite often in my travels, or when I used to travel around the county, I would see homeless people out, on the streets begging. And most of those people are veterans. So could they just be put in touch with 211 to see what options they have, what resources are available to them, instead of them being out panhandling? Would that be a simple way to get them in touch with what they need? And a second unrelated question is, how do you coordinate with the Red Cross when it comes to disasters and putting people in touch with loved ones and that sort of thing? Do you coordinate with them at all?
So the answer to your first question, it is perfectly fine to send them to us. Like I said, we are 24/7. So even if you see someone, you're out late in the day, then they're more than welcome to give us a call. We can see what's available to them. They would have to self-identify as a veteran for us to actually say, hey, have you gotten in touch with these veteran services? If they don't self-identify, then it may be a question that's asked as they're going through the process. It may not. It just depends on, because if people are touchy about subjects, then we just don't ask the question, if that makes sense. But the answer to your other question is American Red Cross does refer to us, especially if they have someone who has a house fire or things like that and needs resources. They do refer people to us. We don't really coordinate with them with their disaster connection piece for connecting family members. They have a whole different system than the family reunification system that the Hospital Association has. As far as I know of, the two systems do not talk.
Interesting.
So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you this. The American Red Cross is at the table at all of the disaster meetings that I attend. So they are aware of this. And the two programs do talk. They talk and to coordinate stuff, but our systems don't talk, and they're not at the same events they're not called to the same events that we're called to. So the bus accident that I was referring to, American Red Cross wasn't called to that event. We were called to that event, whereas American Red Cross may be called to different events than we're called to.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Any other questions real quick before we move on? Altise, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time today to bring this program, very informative program to us. I'm sure there are those that are on here today that will benefit from your resources and the information that you've offered. We're going to have a short business meeting. You're welcome to stay with us, Altise, if you like to, but I know you're busy. I know you've got a day planned ahead of you. You're probably 5 days planned ahead for one day, but we do appreciate you being with us. And David, thank you for working with the program and getting Altise all set up for us. Thank you
Well,
all.
thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank
I will
you.
see you